Hey everybody, here's a follow-up to the video that I posted last night about changing the rubber tire on my bandsaw. This is a 12-inch bandsaw, and the parts were made by the Gilliom Manufacturing Company in Missouri, as you can see there. And if you are kind of an old-timer like me, you might recognize that name if you spend a lot of time reading the old Popular Mechanics and those kind of magazines. They would advertise something that looked like this, and it would always say, build your own power tools, metal parts kit. And, you know, like many others, I couldn't resist the idea of it, and I sent away for a catalog and information. And it's a really cool idea that they came up with. They manufacture the metal parts that you see here, the big 12-inch wheels, the blade guides, upper and lower, and a rip fence attachment, a guide here for the cut-off guide, so to speak, miter gauge. Couldn't think of it, what that's called for a minute. Even a little blade guard, that was part of the kit. This and the tilt angle assembly there. So the whole kit as it came, I remember it was about $100, maybe $120 back in 1984 when I built this thing. And I was in the Marine Corps. I was stationed at New River Air Station, and they had a great wood hobby shop there. And I thought, man, I could build this thing. So that's where I got the ash and the maple and hickory that I made most of the case out of, except for the sides, of course, are 3/4 inch plywood, and I filled them in and painted them. I made that little logo thing that was something like what their logo looked like. And I've since, in the succeeding years, I have, powered the thing with a little electric motor from a washing machine that my buddy Randy Wright got me. And that's how it was at first. The holes that you see in the mount here, for a long time I had it mounted in a Shopsmith Model 10 ER, and that's what those holes are. So it would sit on the rails. It just sat on the edge, kind of similar to what a modern Shopsmith would be like. And then as I got into metalworking, I decided to add a jack shaft. So the motor goes to this large pulley, goes to this jack shaft that goes across, and let me show you. I'll walk around the other side here. And so the jack shaft has another side here. There's a couple of pillow blocks, and then it powers this and another smaller little ratio reduction thing there. So you get the blade moving slower, which is what you want for cutting metal. So there's a good look at the blade tracking adjustments and blade tensioner. And this is what you have to remember is in the 70s and 80s, I guess, when maybe even the 60s, when these things started to come out and they were popular, there were not a lot of import tools available. If you wanted a 12-inch bandsaw, you were buying one from Rockwell for, I guess, $500 or $600, which back then, or even $2 or $3, would have been a huge amount of money, like a week's paycheck for a lot of people. Probably still is. So you didn't have the import tools to choose from, so having these metal parts kits available and being able to make the case for the machine yourself out of wood was a great idea, especially if you were into woodworking like I was at the time. So it's a really neat thing. I mean, I've had it since 1984. Here we are 36 years later, and it's like I said, I'm pleased with it. One thing that's hilarious is that I've had this in pictures of projects that I use. And what you're looking at here, this table, I made it out of maple and did the dados and all for the miter gauge. And I coated the maple table with a bar top, barkeeper's friend, kind of a polyurethane coating. And I've had some people think that because I'm into metalworking now, they've looked at that and they thought that the table was cast iron and that it was rusty, but it's not. So that's just a maple table, and that's what it looks like. So I had it all undone because I got the blade replaced on there, and I just put the tension back on it. So I'll be fiddling with. One thing I'm going to do for the longest time, I had the electric switch in the back. So before I put it back in its little spot in my workshop over there. I'll move the switch to the front, but by golly, that electric motor, it powered a washing machine for no telling how many years, and it's powered this bandsaw for a number of years as well. And I just want to say one thing is, like, if you can still get these kits, there is nothing wrong with them, and it was a cool, fun project. And this thing has lasted, it stood the test of time. I wondered myself how long it would last, but it has certainly held up, and I use it a lot. I cut a lot of wood. What's awesome about this is I made a lot of furniture for our house, and what I would use the bandsaw for, you can raise this guide up, as you can see, quite a bit. I cut some 4x4s, kind of resawed them to make table legs for shaker style tables, and it's powerful and it does the job. You just don't rush your cuts, just take it easy, and it's a nice piece of gear. And if the woodworkers and metalworkers that out there, one of the most versatile tools you'll ever buy is a bandsaw. So, it was cool, it was fun. I'm glad I got it. I'll probably keep this with me for the rest of my life. I've got it on some wheels, and there's a bunch of junk piled up about there on the bottom, some heavy pieces of steel and so forth that keep it from vibrating, because that's the only thing, that with all the wood structure, it'll resonate a little bit. But it's solid as a rock and does a very nice job. So there's my Gilliom Manufacturing 1984 wooden bodied bandsaw that I'm really happy with. I hope you enjoyed that little description of it, and I wish you all the best. Please like and subscribe, and I'll keep you posted with my projects.